Hello and welcome back to another Pantheon opening. Uh, I've actually done some research and I was under enthusiastic about how cool this is. I did not realize that it's a reprint of a much harder card to get a hold of, as well as the fact that just because it's foiled, it jumps up ridiculously in price. I'm apologies for my previous video where I was not sufficiently hyped for this. That is so very cool. Lorraine is such a very nice character, but I've been informed as to how actually cool this is and how rare the Pantheon extended arts actually are. Let's start off with so we have Kongming Fell Eidolon, Fire Mage. Now I've got a Kongming Wind starter over there that I haven't yet played, which is all about changing direction of winds. Love that sound. But I don't think, being a fire character, that she's going to be changing the direction of many winds. But I'm going to be very intrigued to see what we get here. We don't get the extended art. A little bit disappointed after getting the last one. But like I was told, these are fairly rare. Like I was told before, these are fairly rare. Each Pantheon deck comes with a 60 pre-constructed card main deck, a 12 card materialization deck containing our level character, any tokens, a greater boon, a lesser boon, and a shield, which I'll get into in a moment. This is the quick start guide, which I'm probably going to have up on the video anyway. So we have the Kongming bonus. At the beginning of your end phase, you may change the direction of your shifting currents. Never mind, it's all about wind still. Despite being a fire character, let's go. At the beginning of your end phase, you may change the direction of your shifting currents to a different direction of your choice. Directions are north, south, east, west. So this is the shifting current card. So I imagine you just change the shifting currents. We have the Crowd's Favor. Crowd's Favor is a Pantheon mechanic. So Pantheon is the brand new multiplayer Grand Archive format, and Crowd's Favor is a status that you gain through some of the Pantheon cards. While you have it, you essentially receive a buff for being the crowd's favourite, but if anyone else gains crowd's favour, you lose it. Any attack made at you any attack that targets you or objects you control requires one more reserve to be paid before they can go through, and any ability targeting you or objects you control is cancelled unless they pay the one. We have the Greater Boon of Show. When you gain this boon, you draw a card, and at the beginning of your recollection phase, so before you draw, you glimpse 2, and it's only unlockable once your champion hits level 2. The Lesser Boon of Priority. As you gain this boon, put 6 durability counters on a siege domain you control, or put 3 durability counters on a siegeable counter you don't control. And then we have our Pantheon Barrier. In a Pantheon game, each player summons this token at the beginning of the game, Omni Shroud. If damage would be dealt to another object you control, the damage is dealt to Pantheon Barrier instead. So essentially you have a 6 health buffer to help protect you in the early game. Let's take a look at the 12 cards in our materialization deck. So we have our Fire Spirit. On enter, draw 7 cards. This is what the card you start off with. It's your starting materialization. You get to draw 7 cards, and then after that you only draw 1 card each after the recollection step of each turn. Then we level up into Kongming Wayward Maven. On enter, you gain the Shifting Currents Mastery, which is the token we saw before. Players can only have 1 mastery, the Shifting Currents Mastery. It has 4 modes, north, south, east, or west. So you gain this when you play it. Then you level up into Kongming Vice. Kongming Lineage, so it can only be played if you have a Kongming as your previous champion. On enter, Empower 3, so your next spell will get an additional 3 to it. An inherited effect, whenever your shifting current is changed from north to south, draw a card. That's pretty decent, seeing as the beginning of every end step you're going to be changing the winds. And then you level up into the final form, Kongming Fell Eidolon. On enter, recover X, where X is the amount of terror elements in your banishment Whenever you activate a spell, you may change the direction of your shifting currents to an adjacent direction of your choice. So you can go from north to east or west to south. So you can't trigger Kongming every single time, but that's pretty decent. Let's take a look at the rest of the materialization deck. We have Equinox Hour. You banish this to draw a card, and target opponent may materialize a card from the material deck on a 0-minute memory. Safeguard Amulet. If your champion will be dealt non-combat damage, you can prevent 4 of that damage. Tariff Ring. You can banish this during your opponent's recollection stage, and each attack that is played that turn costs 2 reserve in order to even make the attack. Tome of Sorcery. Mage Book, 1 memory cost. On enter, draw a card into memory, and then has a exhaust cost for Empower 1. The next spell card you activate resolves as if your champion was 1 level higher. So when you go into Kongming, level 2, you get to act as though you are three levels higher, so at a 5. Worn Diary. Put a page counter on Worn Diary for each card in your memory. Banish Worn Diary, draw a card, activate only if there are 10 or more page counters on Worn Diary. So this is a more long game way to draw cards, but it's pretty decent. Then we have our Fire Mage Crystal. As a spell, whenever your shifting currents change from facing north to west, deal 2 damage to target champion. So when you have Kongming, whenever you play a spell, you may change it to a different. Whenever you play a spell, you may change the zone, and then when your zone is changed from north to west, you get to deal 2 damage. So you play a spell and you go from north to west. You then play another spell, you then get to deal 2 damage, you go play another spell, you go from west to north, and then at the end of the turn you go from north, again it's the end of the turn, it doesn't matter too much because you have to play it as a spell. We have our Terror Regalia, Coronal of Rejuvenation. As additional cost to Vitalities, banish a preserved card in your material deck. On enter, banish any amount of spell cards from your graveyard. Exhaust, you may play a card banished from Coronal Rejuvenation. Activate as only in slow speed. So you can activate this during your turn, but you can exhaust it and then play anything that was banished when you entered. That's a great way to kind of re-up and almost semi-etherealate your cards. Then the last one is the Vernal Talisman. As an additional cost to materialize this card, banish 2 preserved cards from your material deck. On enter, draw a card. Class bonus Empower 3. The next time you activate an empowered Terra Elemental spell, on this turn recover 1. So Kongming is looking to be a more control-based deck is what I'm gathering from here. We've got a lot of recovery, we've got a lot of empower, we're looking at slinging spells and staying around for a long time. We want to have a lot of cards in our memory to build up our books. We're going to be doing a fair bit of recovery as well as banishing cards from our graveyard to play them again. So we're looking to set up a fairly heavy graveyard, banish them, and then start playing them all again, shifting the winds, burning for damage, and kind of sitting there with this control cycling of cards. Let's take a look at the deck and see if I'm correct on that. Here's our normal cards, our fire cards, and our terror cards. Now, Pantheon is a singleton format, so every single one of these cards will be unique. There are no repeats within the deck, which is part of what makes Pantheon so cool. Let's take a look at the normal elemental cards we have here. We have a Cloud Striker, a 5-cost, 3 power, 4 health unit ally. With on attack, your shifting currents facing west. If your shifting currents is facing west, Cloud Striker is attacking a champion. It gets +3 attack. Nasty. So it's a 3/4 base, but if you can get your winds facing west, you then get to deal additional damage. Battlefield Benediction, it costs 1 less to activate if you're a cleric or mage, which Kongming is, being a mage human. Empower 2, if you control 3 or more units, empower 4 instead. So you could treat it as though you're 2 levels higher or 4 levels higher. Break Apart, it costs 2 more to activate if you're targeting a regalia, so it goes from 3 to 5, but you destroy target item or weapon. So if you're looking to destroy a regalia, it's going to cost you 5. If you're looking to just break apart anything else, it's going to cost you a lot less. Disenchant, destroy target Fantasia. We've seen this a lot, so there's going to be some very cool Fantasias in here. All of the Pantheon decks, so Fantasia's not safe from disenchant. Conqueror, as long as Conqueror is attacking a domain, it gets +3. So if it's sieging, this is a very good siege unit. Look at the size of that shield. It becomes a 4/4. Euaxia, Formidable, intercept on a 2/2 for 2. As long as you're shifting currents at east, it has an additional 2 health. That's absolutely solid. That's a great way to kind of set up a good defense on Kongming. Fractal Mana, Fantasia, Cleric, Mage, Fractal. Reservable, which means while paying a reserve cost, you may rest this to pay 1 of that reserve cost. Class bonus, Empower 1. Gentle Respite, if target's opponent is greater than yours, draw a card into memory, and it has floating memory. That's really solid. Harmonious Mantra, recover 3. If your shifting currents are facing north, you recover 3 plus your level instead. So if you are able to increase your level by 1, by 4, you can gain 3, 4, 5, 7. This is a great way to heal up quite a lot for a low cost action. Another Empower with Heightened Spellcraft, a 1-cost fast Empower 3 fast action with floating memory. Idle Thoughts is a pretty solid card if you can see it early enough. Look at the top 4 cards of your deck, put them back in any order, and it has floating memory. On a 1-cost, Imperial Countermeasure. 1 cost, prevent the next 4 damage that will be dealt to target units control, draw a card into memory. So it replaces itself for the next turn, gives you additional resources, and would prevent 4 damage dealt to target units. Minister of Ceremony, a 3-cost, 1 attack, 3 health, exhaust as a spell, deal 3 damage to target unit, activate only at slow speed, and if your shifting currents are facing east. So this lets you burn a unit for free as long as you're facing east. That's really cool. Mnemonic Charm, draw a card into memory, class bonus, sacrifice Mnemonic Charm, Empower 2. So again, a great way to kind of stack those level increases. Nascent Blast, deal 3 damage to target unit. If Nascent Blast is empowered, put it into memory. That's solid. With great ways to kind of use this empowerment, be able to go burn that unit for free, put it into memory, next turn burn another unit for free. If you can keep empowering yourself, you can have this essentially recursion of damage, which is very strong. Caught Assassin, Ambush and Vigor. Vigor, it readies at the beginning of the end phase, and Ambush means it can retaliate without being attacked. It can retaliate without being attacked. On enter, gain 3 agility, so you gain 3 cards from your memory back into your hand during the end phase. Absolutely solid piece for a 4/4/5 and a great unit. Pendant of Accrual, I was only expecting this to be in like one of the decks. This is the 3rd one I've seen. Really solid card. At the beginning of each opponent's recollection phase, they may pay 2. If they don't, put a deck counter on Pendant of Accrual. If everyone is playing this, then paying 6 is a hell of a cost, and you're going to be able to start removing 2 deck counters from Pendant of Accrual to draw a card into memory. Shieldbearer, Taunt on a 1/4 for 3. Taunt means this needs to be dealt with. Attacks cannot be. This unit must be dealt with. It must be off your field before any other object can be targeted for an attack. Retold Fortune, discard up to 1 spell card. If you do, draw a card. Class bonus, floating memory. So once you get to level 2, if you want to get that push into Kongming level 3, floating memory immediately comes online. You go next turn, you are ready to go. Samaritan's Reach. This card costs 1 less to activate if you're a mage, so it goes from a 3 to a 2. Deal 3 damage to target attacking ally you don't control. If that ally is attacking a unit you don't control, gain crowd's favor. This is a really cool ability because you just get to go, oh, player 3 is attacking player 2. I'm going to kill that unit, gain crowd's favor, making it harder to deal with me, and then I'm also going to make a temporary ally along the way. Sanctified Paladin, Foster. As long as it's fostered, it has +3 attack, +3 health and vigor, which means it readies during the end phase. And when you foster it, you get to draw 2 cards. Scrying Skies. Glimpse level. Draw a card into your memory, and then draw a card into your memory. To glimpse, look at that many cards from the top of your deck. Put those cards back on the top or the bottom in any order. That is so very cool. So if you can get to level 8, level 9, level 10, you get to glimpse at the long set of line of your deck. You get to see what's going to be coming, and then you get to draw a card into memory so you can kind of set up the first 2 cards to be very impactful for your next turn. Or if you've got agility, for your opponent's turn. Shade Striker, Ambush, can retaliate again while not defending, and is a 2/3. Shared Feather, each player draws a card into their memory and you gain crowd's favor on a 1 cost. You're giving everyone resources, everyone additional cards for their next turn, so the crowd are going to be in your favor. Silver Soldier with a retort 2 vigor, a 3 cost 3/4 unit. Absolutely love that. Spirited Nephite. On attack, if you're shifting currents face north, empower 2 on a 2/3. So this is what I was on about if you can get a empower stick. We have Kongming having the winds facing north. We attack with this, we get the level up we get the empower on a stick, which means we can keep using this empower bonus on our levels. Shieldmate, a floating memory taunt 2 difficulty unit. This is a very strong ally. Not only does it have to be taken off the field before you can be targeted, once it hits the graveyard, you have floating memory to materialize at your next level or even some regalia. Stocked Outpost, siegeable, so attacks may be used against its durability. On enter, draw card into memory. If it's an opponent's turn when it's destroyed, they draw a card into memory. Vertical Stage, a 4 cost 1/4 Kongming bonus. If you're shifting winds, change direction, it gets +1/+1 to end the turn. With the ability to shift winds when you play spells, if you can draw enough cards into memory, if you can draw enough cards into your hand, you get this down, and if you can shift the winds a few times, this becomes a legitimate threat. Veteran Soldier is a 5 cost 2/3 floating memory. Doesn't have taunt, but if you can get this in your discard, you get free memory, but it's not great for what it is, but it's pretty cool for getting into the game. Once you can understand why this isn't a good card, it shows that you've kind of grown with a bit more of the understanding of the game. The last of the normal element cards is the Weaken Resistance. As long as you're a mage, it costs 1 less to activate, going from a 4 to a 3. The next time target unit would take damage from a spell source's turn, it takes that much damage plus your level. Oh! No! What? On a 3 cost? We haven't even seen the other ones, but there's so much Empower. Going Empower 4 into take an additional 4 from the next spell. If we get, let's see, spell damage. I know we had a spell damage because I saw it. As a spell, deal for 3 damage to target unit. This time the target would take damage from a spell source. So you take 3, but if I say have empowered 4, you take an additional 7 because that's the level on my character. Nasty combinations from Kongming here. I like that a lot. Let's take a look at the fire elements that are going to be changing our wins. Clumsy Apprentice, a 2-cost 1/1 that has on enter, deal 2 damage to your character, but draw a card. Creative Shock, draw two cards and discard a card. Class bonus for Mage. If a fire element was discarded, choose a target and deal 2 damage to it. As a spell yet again, so we get to pop off with that. Cremation Ritual, as an additional cost, this card sacrifice an ally, draw 2 cards. Not bad on a 3 cost. 8 cost Disintegrate. Efficiency, this card costs X less, where X is your level, so Empower really helps here. To destroy a target ally or regalia. So that doesn't have to be your own, that is also your opponent's allies. Really solid. Fireball, this card costs 2 less to activate if you're a mage, so on a 2 cost, it deals 1 damage plus level, and then if you double that with, say, and then you can double that with the normal spell we saw in here, so that would be double level damage to a unit. Kongming is getting nasty here. Focus Flames, this card costs 1 less to activate if you're a mage, deal 4 damage to target allies. So you can't deal this to a champion, but you can deal this to all of their allies around them. Hasty Messenger, a 2-cost 1/2, but on attack you may discard a card. If you do, draw a card. This is some great looting. This is a great way to go. This card is doing nothing for me at the moment. I don't really need it. Veteran Soldier being a good example. You discard it, you now have the floating memory online, and you get to draw a card to replace it. Increasing Danger. Draw a card, each player draws a card into their memory. A great way to kind of get people online. You go, yeah, I'm going to let everyone draw some memory. Let's all be friends, let's all chill, and then you burn them to death with spells. Purge in Flames, an 8-cost efficiency, so essentially you can make this free. It's a 5 cost if you don't use any empowerment. Once you get to like the highest level, deal 2 damage to all units except your champion. If you're a mage, you deal 3 damage to all those instead. And because this is spell damage, you can combine it with the one that adds your level, so you can make that 6x damage. Ooh, no, because you ignore your champion and you nuke the field. Prognosis, draw 3 cards and discard 2 cards. Writer Berserker, as long as the shifting currents are north, Berserker gets +1 attack, so it becomes a 3/1. Very glass cannony. Set Ablaze, deal 4 damage to target ally. If you're level 3 or higher and a mage, deal 3 damage to each champion controlled by the same player as that ally. That's pretty cool. So you deal 4 damage to one, 3 damage to others, kind of a after effect. Shinzu of the Ash, a 2-cost human unit, a 1 attack, 2 health. On enter, you may discard a card. If you do, draw a card. And then banish a fire elemental from your discard. As a spell, deal 4 damage to target ally. Activate this only if your winds are facing north or south. So I assume that's what these little winds are at the bottom. They indicate what way the winds need to be facing in order to use their ability. So if the next one says it needs to be facing north, then I'm correct. Solar Pinnacle, a 2-cost. As long as your shifting current faces north, so I'm correct. This has fast activation, deal 2 damage to target unit, and then empower 2. Very cool. Solar Providence, draw a card and discard a card. Kongming bonus, change the direction of your shifting currents to a different direction of your choice. When you change it from facing south to north, deal 3 damage to target champion. So if you're facing south, you can face north. Getting ready to draw cards with Kongming when you go from north to south again. Deal 3 damage to target champion, which is very strong. Spurn Ash, destroy target regalia with cost 1 or less on a 3 cost. Tender Heart Guard, for on enter as a 2-cost 1/3. Each player may discard a card. Each player that does draws a card to memory, and then you gain the crowd's favour. And then the Wandering Galavier, on death, each player draws a card as a 2/1 for 3 cost. That's really powerful fight. Again, as I was saying when I looked at normal, this is a very cool control-esque build. More mid-range than control. Very aggressive, but rather than going in fast and trying to deal early damage, rather than trying to play the long game, here it's more, I need a little bit of setup, but I need to be able to utilize myself quickly to get this Empower level burn coming in. And then let's take a look at the final cards, the Terror cards. Entrenched Fortress, a domain, siegeable castle, and it's a taunt, so you have to deal with this before you can deal with anything else. And it deals 3 damage to target unit on enter. So you can just, it appears out of nowhere and just wrecks face and goes, yep, now you're going to deal with this. Everlong Thorns, put 2 debuff characters on target ally. If your shifting currents are east or west, put 2+ level debuff characters instead. You can kill a unit with debuff. Yep, you could kill a unit with debuff here. Flourishing Key, whenever your shifting winds change from facing to north, while this card is activation on the stack, put 4 charge counters on the activation. Deal level plus X damage to target unit, where X is the amount of charge counters on this card. Activate on this card's activation. So because when you play a spell, you change the zone of the wind. Yeah, you want to essentially establish a stack, a chain, a web, whatever the game calls it. You play this, and then you respond to change the wind. You go, cool. You can change it to north, get activation. Play another spell as a fast action, change it to west. Then play another spell, change back to north, get another activation on top. And essentially, you want to build up the stack so you keep getting the change of the wind zones, the change of the currents. It's convoluted, but I see what it's trying to do. Leeching Bolt, deal level damage to target unit, then recover 2. If Leeching Bolt was empowered, put it into its owner's material deck preserved, as long as its materials you may. As your materials, you may instead return preserved cards to your hand. So you deal X damage to a unit equal to your level. If you have it empowered, that's only going to be 3 max. But with the empowerment, you can get quite high. Recover 2, and because you've empowered it, which is what a lot of these cards do, you put it into materialization when you could add it again. And because we have materialization essentially on sticks, this could get very silly. Vedancy Kongming bonus, whenever your shifting currents change from facing east to south, recover 4. Oh, that's nice. So if you're just worrying, you go, cool, I'll go to east, and then when you end your turn, you go, okay, I'm going to activate, I'm going to go to south, I'm going to regain 4. And when they deal with it, you get to have the floating memory to do some more materialization. Petrifal Embrace, each player recovers 8+ level. I'm not here for a short time, I'm here for a long time and a good time. Yeah, let's go. Planar Abyss, efficiency, so it's a 12 cost that gets reduced based on what level your character is. At the beginning of your next recollection phase, destroy all non-champion objects, and if your current counter is feeling south, deal 10 damage to each champion you don't control. Holy crap! That's so nasty. So you play it, at the end of your turn, you shift the currents to south, and you got 1 cycle round. If you don't, I'm wiping the board and dealing everyone 10 but me. Roots of Tomorrow, reveal top card of your deck, put it into your deck reserved, and then draw a card into your memory. On a 1 cost, that's really powerful. Ruinous Pillars of Quido. On enter, empower 2 and draw a card. Whenever your shifting currents change from west to east, sacrifice Ruinous Pillar. Whenever you do, destroy target non-champion object you don't control. Terror Sight. Preserve, so you can put this into your materialization deck instead, and you get to just draw a card. It's a free draw card. That's pretty cool. Vendor of Preservation, Mage Spell Unique Phantasm, Kongming bonus. Whenever your shifting currents change facing in the next clockwise direction, reveal the top card of your deck, put it into your material deck reserved. On a free reserve, sacrifice Preservation, empower X, where X is twice the amount of preserved cards in your material deck. Activate only if there are 5 or more preserved cards here. So you can get empowered 10 from this, which then makes this free, and then also lets you do very silly things on the other ones. What? Look like it's on your next spell, so you can't do it with multiples, but even getting that for... Even, you look at it's on your next spell that gets Steam Power, so you can do silly things with one card. Look at it isn't everything. That would be absolutely nasty. Kongming seems like a very cool mid-range character looking to set up a almost combo-esque field, solid defense, solid offense to say, I am a threat, you don't want to anger me, but at the same time, you don't want to leave me too long, because once I get set up, it's going to start getting weird. I think this is a really solid deck, and I'm really excited to see how this would play. Not quite sure if I would play this myself, but at the same time, it's a very unique deck that would take a lot of skill. This seems like a very high skill ceiling deck to me, and I'm down for that. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think. What you guys think of Kongming Fel Idiom. I am hyped on it. I should check what the actual star deck does now that I've seen this. But I am hyped to start playing some more Pantheon. If anyone would like to play some Pantheon, let me know. And let me know what you guys think of this deck and what the best ways to edit it. I'll see you all again, night. Bye.